brought to you by very special sponsors. First of all, panadas, eat happy. I love an panada. And,
Me too. And
Bob,
Renegade truck accessories.
That's right. And one of them is for eating, and one of them is for cheating.
One for speeding, yeah. RenegadeTruck.net.
A frequent guest here in the studio and a friend of the show. And a friend of mine personally, Matthew Odom, is in the studio right now. We're going to, yeah, that's Matthew. Oh, you can talk to him. It's okay. Oliver's going to move you over to the microphone over there. Can we make sure that Matthew's microphone is on? Hey, Matthew, sorry, it was a little awkward start. We had a bunch of stuff going on. We had to move cameras, things like that. You understand how the business works.
Oh, yeah, I'm a professional.
Are you a professional? Are you a professional? First off, how do you feel this morning? Are you hungover?
No, it was an early game. Started at 6:37. I think I was home by 11. I got an 18-month-old, so you can only be so hungover.
Well, Matthew's a big Astros fan. Astros are in the American League Divisional Series. And championship against the Yankees. Good game last night. I woke up this morning and was going through my Instagram stories, and in more than one of them, I saw you high-fiving people in the bar, and I wondered, will I see Matthew tomorrow morning, or will there be a call of, I think I woke up with something?
Dave Mead might have set me up for that one.
Did he? Did you tell everybody, hey, nobody put this on social media in case I just no-show somewhere?
Exactly.
We've got it up on the big screen as well. You work for the Austin American Statesmen, or you work along with the Austin American Statesmen?
I work for the Austin American Statesmen. 16 years.
And you are the dining critic, food and dining critic. Do you have an official title over there besides a-hole?
Fat old guy. I am the restaurant critic and reporter.
Okay, restaurant critic and reporter. And you guys have got something pretty special out. It's the 2022 Dining Guide. This isn't really a competition, right? It's not like you're saying best food or best dish or first dishes. This is kind of like, hey, these are the restaurants that are really standing out right now. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's all just one man's opinion, right? So, you can argue about it all day. I think I get paid to kind of do the research, give a professional opinion, a well-informed opinion. And they're, I guess you could call them my favorites, but I try and figure out if somebody's coming to town, they want to get a sense of what Austin's about, where do you send them? How do you give them the flavor of Austin? And I think this list represents that.
So we all have this image of, I do. I have an image when I hear food critic, I have an image of a guy that does sneak attacks on restaurants in disguises so that he's not seen and gets a restaurant so that you get the experience of what a customer would get, not a special person. Do you go in announced when you review a restaurant or unannounced or... Because you want them to give them a good shot at it. But,
sure.
But on the other hand, you also want to give them the experience that the regular Joe is paying for.
Right. I think the jigs has been up for a while about who I am, what I look like. We didn't publish my photo until maybe a year ago. But I'd been around Austin before I became the restaurant critic, so there were some photos of me floating around, but I always make it under a different name.
I don't reservation, you make it under a different name.
Right. Now,
exactly.
Is that a real beard you're wearing today, or is that a fake? Are you going to a restaurant review?
That is fake.
Okay,
sometimes
so
I wear glasses. I'm not really bald.
You're not an Astros fan.
I'm not an Astros. I'm a Yankees fan with a long mane. Yes, and I try and it doesn't really matter as much. Like, this isn't 1990s New York and white tablecloth service, and the service is going to be the service, and some of it is better than others, and you can tell. You can't really fake it. Like, if I come in, all of a sudden the kitchen can't all of a sudden get better. A server can't all of a sudden know the menu better than they did before. It used to be sometimes it was a little awkward if they were nervous or trying a little bit hard, and I'd just be like, hey, look, without kind of saying it, it's cool. Like, you're not going to make or break this thing. Let's just hang out. It's no big deal.
Right. The reason I asked that question is I think we knew a reviewer at one time in town, I won't say.
You could say Matthew and I have talked about him quite often.
Who gave a strip club a Michelin star?
Yeah. Over the years, as the scene has developed, there have been some, let's say, some underhanded things where basically reviewers would go to places and say, I noticed that you brought me a check, and would be like, you know what, I'm reviewing. I would really like this check to go away, and if an extra $50 shows up, or I can bring a couple friends, you'll get a good review, which is not exactly above board. One of the reasons I get along so well with Matthew, too, we're buds. I won't get into the personal stories, but one of the things I like about you, too, is that you enjoy a really good, high quality restaurant experience. But you are not above sitting at a dirty
Trailer?
picnic table and going and trying a trailer and going, God damn, this is really good. This is really fantastic, and people should know about the great food coming out of this place as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the exciting things about the job and about this city. I mean, especially with prices being so astronomical and out of control right now, is that you're finding a lot of the cool, exciting, inventive stuff at trailers, and these guys and girls or ladies are kind of, going from trailers into brick and mortars and becoming success stories. I mean, you look at Odd Duck, which has been in my top 25 most of the past 7 or 8 years. They started out as a trailer. Of course, Aaron Franklin started out as a trailer, and all the great taco trailers around town.
Do you think you can take more risks in a trailer?
Yeah, I mean,
There's less at stake.
there's
maybe?
less at stake. Yeah, and you can do a tighter
bold.
menu. You can do exciting things, and you can be more niche. If you just do Taiwanese street food, you can find an audience, and it might be better that you do something more niche because you find a group of people that are looking for that kind of food, and they'll come back to you time and time again. So you can just have a dumplings trailer, you can just have a noodles trailer,
Or a ringers trailer, Chewy.
Yeah, but it's pretty amazing how over the years too. I mean, our food preparers and the whole food scene has become like it's bigger than the music scene. I don't know if all a lot of the rock and rollers grew up and their knees started hurting, and everyone. I mean, people now. 20 years ago, you could mention a chef's name and people seemed stunned that you knew who cooked at a restaurant.
Right.
Whereas now, I feel like people speak about it. I mean,
so-and-so has moved to town. You hear that a lot now. This chef moved to town.
So and so's opening another restaurant.
Matthew and I are both acquainted with Aaron Franklin, and I remember introducing my mother to Aaron. And I was like, Aaron, can you do me a favor? This is going to be awkward for you, but we say hi to my mother because my mother. It was like she was meeting Jesus at the point. It was insane. She was like, "Oh my God, I got to get picked." When my friends back home find out that I met, it's fun to watch. It is fun. So let's get into the dining guide. I have a couple questions for you. One, give us a couple of the folks you think are really standing out. But I also, in the back of your mind, Chewy loves to eat. Chewy loves to go to have a really fancy time. He grew up in Thrall. He wasn't supposed to have a lot of this fancy, right? So he still loves that. But I also want to know, because I think our listeners, what's a place out there that is doing an excellent value, right? Even if they didn't necessarily make the list, of excellent value. And that doesn't mean that it's cheap. I mean, sometimes you may pay quite a bit, but there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, I mean, you've been to Nishta Taqueria over on East
absolutely.
12th Street. I mean, that is, world-class Mexican food served mostly outside. There's, like 5 counter seats inside, but it's mostly outside on picnic tables. It's a chef that moved here, Edgar Rico, from Los Angeles, where he'd worked at Son of a Gun and Tuamec, which are big hotshot restaurants in Los Angeles. And he's doing chef-driven tacos and tostadas. And so whether it's pickling or roasting or the house-made cremas or whatever it is, there's flavor layering, there's craft approach to it, and I think they cost $8. So I'm gonna do a list next spring, I think, of the 25 best places to eat for $20 or less.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great, especially with pricing and housing and all these other things that are affecting so many people in the city. I think that would be a really hot article. So anyway, let's get out of your way. What are some of the places right now that are really standing out? I don't want to give them all away because I want people to go see, because the dining guide is available right now still, right?
Yeah. Just came out online, I think, yesterday. What's today? Yeah, sometime this week.
Love it. Love your commitment to your craft.
Kanji, I'm doing a lot of eating. Kanji is a Caribbean restaurant from Chef Tavel Bristol Joseph, who's part of the Emmer and Rye group. So it's one of their restaurants. It's over there on East 6th Street. It's fantastic Caribbean food, a lot of depth of flavor, good energy in the space, great cocktails. That's one of the more exciting places
I
in the
just
city
ate
right
there
now.
recently.
My wife and I made a reservation. I think I'm going there soon.
Well, it's the place I told you
Yeah,
about, where
and
the
then
pink pineapple dish that I wanted you to try.
So
and
good.
I was talking to them, and I said I had not had a meal that good in a really, really long time, where everything's a bit of a home run, and you left going, boy, I'm in a really good mood. That was really fantastic. We sat at the bar. We got there early. We had a great time.
Yeah,
great time.
It's a lot of fun, and it's a good, diverse crowd, which is wonderful to see in Austin, which you don't see that often in Austin, so it's wonderful to see that. Yeah, it's great flavors. It's kind of raucous flavors, raucous vibes. It's a really good time. Probably the best new restaurant in the city. foreign and domestic is always great. A neighborhood spot, which, these neighborhood spots, these smaller spots, these places that are mom and pop owned and driven where they're there every day. Those places I have a real affinity for. And, the Birdies is the same way over on East 12th Street, just a couple blocks from Nishta, actually. Like two of the...
I know. I used to live in walking distance to both those places, but they both opened after I moved out of my house.
Oh, man. Two of the 5 best restaurants in the city, and they're within, a couple blocks of each other. So, I really love places like that, like a Lenoir on South 1st Street, which is also probably the best date night spot in the city.
I still have never been there, and I hear it's like super romantic, really nice place.
Yeah, and they redid the inside during the pandemic. Their staff's really on point. You just get a feel for certain places where you understand that the staff is really bought into what's going on.
How important is staff and service when you're reviewing a place?
It's gotten really bad in a lot of places around town. And that's not to slight anybody, but there's a lot of new faces in.
Yeah.
The guys at Wink, who I interviewed for our Hall of Fame, which is part of the Dining Guide, they've been around for 21 years.
Around for a long time.
Yeah. And they were saying the other day, and this might be a little too far, but he said, we've lost a whole generation of service industry workers because of the pandemic. And a lot of people, whether it's front of house or back of house, have left the industry. You could get a job at almost any restaurant in town right now. You see help wanted signs everywhere and on the internet.
I might need that.
But I think, too, when we talk about inflation and rising costs and things like that, if you go to a nicer restaurant, it is not unusual to pay. You're looking at $100 a person easily for a meal.
I spent some. I hope my bosses cover their ears. I have more bad high dollar meals this year in Austin than any time in my life, and a lot of those places, will make a great dish or two, and some of it feels special to be there, but the whole meal needs to crush if you're going to be paying $250 a person, or you feel like you're getting ripped off.
And you shouldn't have to stop at Whataburger on the way home.
Yeah.
After a $300 meal.
Yeah.
Not that I've had many of them, but a few times.
Yeah, I stopped at Pete Terry's on the way home after a $400 meal this year.
That's tough.
I love Pete Terry's, but that's tough. That's a tough beat.
A vacation.
You feel like you really...
that's vacation money.
You really feel like you got ripped off. And, and I want to be mindful, too. We have listeners all over the spectrum. We have, and some of them are literally on the spectrum, but we have listeners who, are busting their asses and are barely getting by on their rent, right? And so I always want to find stuff for them, and I never want to be braggadocious about some of these big meals we go to because we want to be mindful of that. But also we have people I know that are rolling in the dough. I will say that I don't care how much money I have. If I've gone somewhere and I've spent some money and the experience was annoying, has happened a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
I recently had a place where I just saw my server halfway through the meal. Like, they took an order and then never saw them again. I don't know if they were let go mid-service, whatever, but I had to track somebody down in order to pay what I thought was an exorbitantly high bill, and I had to track somebody down who wasn't even my server, and somebody else brought me a bill. Like, and I was like, I guess we still tip. I don't know how it works when you, it sucks when you leave from a place and you're like, I feel like I just got ripped. I feel like I got robbed.
Yeah,
literally robbed.
I had literally turned in my story and was driving the other day after I'd turned in the story to my editor, and we were going to print, quote unquote, and I thought, why is that place, people think it should be on there, this place that I won't name them, but I was like, I had a really bad experience the last 2 times I was there, and I felt ripped off, and I pulled over and I went into a coffee shop and I wrote up this other place, which is kind of more of a Southwestern cuisine, casual place. You can get out of there for $20. And it's great, El Dorado Cafe.
We love everybody here is huge.
I was like, you know what?
I
was like, El Dorado Cafe needs to be in the top 25, not this other place. Swap them out. Let's go.
Good for you.
And
Because
so,
we
places
love
like
El
that,
Dorado.
like El Dorado Cafe, A Better Half, which is amazing. Like, those are places that are the lifeblood of this city for, regular folks like me and like you and, so
My
many of the
only
listeners.
problem with El Dorado is they are McDonald's firm when it comes to turning over to the lunch menu. And when sometimes we get there 30 seconds late and we're like, guys, sorry, we're on the lunch. I'm like, but I gotta have that taco. And there's no like, well, we'll hook it up. They're like, sorry, bitch, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
Dan's Hamburgers is also like that. Dan's does a great breakfast, like table service breakfast. But if you get there at 10:31, you're not getting the pancakes and the eggs. It's burger time.
That's the way it's got to be.
Get in line behind all the fat boys because it's burger time.
I'd love a write-up on like the $100 places that are worth it, because sometimes I'll
I'm
save up
working on
enough
that.
money underneath my mattress to actually go out and try these places. And I think one that I have actually tried is Garrison, and that for sure
place
was
sma-
100%.
that slapped when I went.
If anybody can, afford the anniversary, whatever, Garrison for the money.
Yeah.
I sat at the bar, and that was an amazing experience. at
Just
Garrison.
for time wise, because I think we cut you off a bit. You were talking about a couple of highlights on your list. Now, your list, is it numbered in an order? Have they placed? Have they?
Yeah, it's 1 through 27 this year. In the past, it's been 50. That felt like a bit of a reach this year. And 27 is a special number for me. So I went 27. So they are ranked. Yeah, number one's Loca d'Oro, which is an Italian restaurant in the Miller development. They make great pasta. They make everything from scratch. They make their own amaros. Their tiramisu is out of this world. But part of the reason I named them number one this year is they've had so much to do with working with the community. They're part of something called Good Work Austin, which advocates for small businesses and equity and fair pay and equal treatment. And they're a great citizen. And I think restaurants now, more than just being an escapist thing, they need to be part of the community. And they do a great job of that.
Well, you can see the value, too, in what they do because they treat their staff like human beings.
Yeah.
And
they pay that forward. Like, you feel that as a customer.
You used to see it at Chez Nu, where it was a place where you knew that you knew that staff was taken care of and seen as family. This is the place, Loca d'Oro. I sent you a picture the other day of that cold shrimp soup, and you were
I've
like, "I'm not sure."
I've been to Loca.
Okay, and that's where I was just like, "Hey, man, I want you to have this particular dish." I love that place, and I feel like they got in early at Miller, and it took a while for people to really catch on, and I think they had to really push hard to get people in those doors. It's one of the best restaurants. It's always consistently fantastic, and they make a point. They say right there, "Hey, we're basically putting a service fee on here because we're paying all of our employees well, and we want you to know." And I'm always fine with it because the service is great. It's great.
Another nice place I've been to, and to answer Chewy's question, it's really kind of an oddball place, and I think a lot of people that have reached out to me kind of hadn't heard of it, is Apartment 115.
Yeah.
Which was a wine bar.
And they got vinyl in there, right?
Yeah, it's a wine bar from a dude that apparently used to work in the music industry here, and they just had small plates at first, but then they somehow lucked into getting Charles Joel, who was a veteran of barley swine, and worked at some really great restaurants in San Francisco and D.C., as their chef, and he does a tasting menu there, which is like $115, which is less than some places, but a huge commitment for a lot of people, and it's exciting, personal, delicate, awesome food, and it's worth it. So I think that's kind of an off the radar place for some people.
Yeah, and I know some people can be intimidated and they go, "Man, I just want food. I want a big burger," and we get that. Here's what I would say to a lot of dudes who go, "Man, a restaurant that's delicate, that's not for me." Matthew's not talking for you.
Yeah,
you take your lady. Don't wear your damn flip-flops. Put on some nice shoes. Put on a nice shirt, and it's amazing what it does for a relationship. A nice evening where someone treats you like good people. Does it cost a little bit? It absolutely does, and sometimes it bites, but it's really nice to be treated nicely. It's nice to have a really nice meal and be elevated. And I think Chewy's one of my favorite examples of that because Chewy and I talk about food all the time, and Chewy's even said, I mean, you grew up, it was
always a passion of mine.
But box macaroni and cheese was kind of a pinnacle.
Yeah, but, I mean, you can listen to rock and roll. You can listen to Supertramp with the windows down, going 85 down the freeway and rock out, or you can sit in a quiet room with headphones on and listen to "Wish You Were Here" on vinyl and trip out. I mean, there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah. Right, exactly. I guess that's a better way of putting it. That's why you're the writer.
Do you ever need food photographers? Because Chewy takes a picture of every meal. And
phone eats first kind of guy?
He's got game.
Yeah?
There's more food than nudes in my phone, for sure.
It's a great list. It's up right now at the statesman.com. You just look for it, the 2022 dining guide. Matthew, you have it's an open door policy for you here. Anytime you've got something going on.
Thanks, fellas.
And
love being up here. Love the energy in this room right now.
We love to take you sometime too to some of our haunts because we've definitely got some faves.
Let's do it.
You got to go get the Texas melt at Buddy's Burgers.
The Texan patty melt.
They're doing a patty melt over there. Have you had it yet?
No, I haven't had. I saw it on Instagram the other day, but they're one of my 10 best burger places in the city.
go see it in your face hole.
I might
'cause it
might
is-
sit in your parking lot until they open and then just drive over there.
I know that
I'll meet you
sometimes
there.
we have to wait
We
till
do that a
11
lot
to
too.
go
yeah.
over there.
That's Matthew Odom from the American Statesman. Love having you in. Thanks
fellas.
also to our friends over at Panadas.
And Renegade Truck Accessories.
Coming up, we still have a grip of tickets to give away. Someone's going to go to the Texas Monthly Barbecue Fest. Matthew, you going out to that?
Mornings with Matt and Bob in studio is brought to you by Empanadas, available in the frozen food aisle of your favorite grocery store, and Renegade Truck Accessories, your source for truck caps, bed covers, lift kits, window tinting, and custom services. Mornings with Matt and Bob in studio is brought to you by Empanadas, available in the frozen